Just a little twirl. Hold on, let me make sure I don't.
Yeah. I don't know if we've got enough.
We don't have enough room to spin with
we'll
you.
Swivel with
Yeah.
you.
Welcome to another episode of Debt Free Stories. I'm Jen.
I'm Jill.
And we are the co-hosts of the Frugal Friend podcast and the Frugal Friends YouTube channel.
Ooh, debt-free stories and more.
Yes. So if you have not seen a debt-free story before, we are sharing the debt payoff stories of our listeners in hopes of inspiring you if you are on a debt-free journey and also celebrating them. And so we have a bunch of stories for you this season that are all inspirational and really, really cool. Like, really stoked for them.
If it's not fun, it's not Frugal Friends. So we're like, how do we just celebrate more? How can we have more reasons to celebrate? And here it is, celebrating with people as they share and put out into the world their debt-free story and motivate others. And we've got a really fantastic guest and fellow Frugal Friends podcast listener sharing her and her family's story today. Katelyn, welcome. We're so glad you're here.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me.
Yes, thank you so much for joining us. So, Katelyn, tell us a little bit about you, your family, where you guys live.
Okay, so me and my husband, we live in Hampton, Virginia, which is on the coast of Virginia. We have 3 children. So my stepdaughter is 14, my daughter is almost 12, and my son is almost 11. My younger 2 are less than a year apart, and we are upon birthday season as well as Christmas. So December is a difficult month in our household when it comes to finances. And yeah, my husband and I, we've been married for 12, going on 13 years now. And he is in law enforcement. And my full-time job, I work in human resources for a large Catholic healthcare system.
Awesome.
Yeah.
December sounds like a busy month for you. But I mean, spoiler alert, you're debt free now. So that's probably not as bad as December's might have
Don't
used
give it
to
away,
be.
Jill.
I know. But can you tell us, let's back up. Can you tell us about the debt? How much was it? What was it comprised of? Just give us all the deets.
It was a little bit of everything. So it was over $100,000, and that included 8 credit cards, 2 personal loans, 2 car loans, 20 student loans, 3 medical bills, 2 cell phones, and a 401k loan.
And a partridge in a pear tree.
Exactly.
Okay, so how did this menagerie accumulate? Like, was this an instance? Was this an event that occurred where you had to take out a lot at once, or was this more like over time?
It was kind of just a little bit of accumulation over, the first decade of our marriage. When we got married, I was quite young. I was 20, 22, 23, and we were both in very entry-level roles within our career. So I think maybe our first year married, we made $70,000 combined income total, but we had 3 small kids, and they're so close together that, they went to preschool together. And so all of those, and then like the activity expenses all hit together. Looking forward, everyone will be driving around the same time. They'll all be going to college around the same time. So we just, it just started very small, putting a little money on a credit card here, taking out a credit card there. We needed a personal loan for this, home repairs. We did have a custody battle in there at one point where we paid a lot of money for a lawyer. So that was the bulk of the credit card debt. But then it just kind of compounded because we could never get out of the minimum payment cycle. And then we would put a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more. And then the student loan debt, both of us were non-traditional students. So I had started college right out of high school, dropped out, started, stopped a few times. My husband did not go to college right out of high school, decided to go back later once he was established in his career. We were not informed consumers when we started our education journey. We kind of just took the easy path, which was, hey, here's these great schools that offer this great format. But guess what? Those schools are really expensive. And student loans don't seem like real money in the moment. Right? Because there's kind of that thought process that, oh, well, I'll end up making more money in the long run and I'll be able to pay it back. Well, fast forward 10 years, I had spent $60,000 on my undergrad. My husband had spent $30,000 on his. And we were getting to a point where we were going to have to start making those payments. And when we hit this point in March of 2021, we had always been able to pay our bills. We were never behind, but it was always this anxiety of, oh my goodness, are we going to be able to make our paycheck stretch and meet all of these minimum payments? And we were just paying minimum payments, nothing over and above to really dig ourselves out. And then March of 2021, we were still in the student loan pause, but I knew we were going to have to do something because when those student loans came due, we were not going to be able to make those minimum payments because there was too much what do they say, too much month at the end of the paycheck,
at the end of the money.
right. So that's when we just sat down and we had a really difficult conversation about and we had come so far too. So we had both been advancing in our careers, things of that nature, and we made too much money to not have any money. So we sat down, we listed out all of our debt, which it still makes me, like I have the spreadsheet up right now and looking at it just makes me just so nauseous when we put it all down because it was like we thought we had everything and then we were like, oh, this debt and it just kept ticking up and ticking up and ticking up. And then when it hit over $100,000, I was like, okay, we're going to stop, we're going to make a plan, and we're going to do something about that. So that's really how we ended up starting the journey.
Oh, I can so feel all of those different layers that you're describing of young family, young kids, trying to advance in a career, not currently making a lot of money. And there's just a lot of reasons for debt accumulation, in addition to maybe not being informed consumers, as you've described. But what a common story of how you found yourself collecting the menagerie of debt. So totally understand it. But can you share a little bit about how long then did it take you to pay off this debt?
Took us about 18 months to pay everything off. I will say, so we started this journey with the same guy that everybody typically starts this journey with. So, and some of those principles really did help us. And I was really thankful for that kind of start to the journey. And as we progressed through it, I was able to incorporate more perspectives and opinions and my own kind of process through all of this. But we use the snowball method. But I call it like the modified snowball because when we listed everything out, we did have a little bit of cash in the bank. So we had about $5,000. And instead of going for the smallest debt first, I went for where's the biggest impact on my monthly budget first. So we were able to kind of start the snowball rolling a little bit more than we could have if we had followed that particular protocol, because we had a couple payments that were like a $350 payment that had $3,000 left on it. So that got our snowball rolling. And then I think I was able to pay off another $150 minimum payment. So that got us up to $500. So that really pushed us forward on our journey. And then my husband worked an amazing amount of overtime. Like he must have worked some weeks 100 hours. I think there were days that he went without sleep. It was a lot, and I feel very blessed that he has that opportunity. So law enforcement does not make a lot of money when you look at base pay, but the opportunity to earn is there. And then I actually picked up one side job, and then I ended up with 3 jobs at the end of this, and I still have all 3 jobs. So, well, one of those jobs I ended, and then I started a different job. So we definitely took advantage of every opportunity that we could to increase our income just to knock this stuff out.
Wow. What was that experience of working all of those hours and doing all that? Because that is something that does worry people entering a debt-free journey. Did you find benefit in that? Obviously during the journey, but like now, what was that experience like?
I wouldn't change any of it. I think we ended up, even though we didn't see each other a lot, the time we were able to spend together, it was very meaningful. Our children saw us working really hard, and now they ask really open, like we have open conversations about earning and education and bills. Actually, this morning I was just talking to my middle schooler. Her and her best friend want to get an apartment when they turn 18. And when we talked about how much an apartment was, they have a different plan now, which maybe involves everyone moving into my house, but I'm not quite sure how that's going.
That's amazing. Sounds like it might have backfired.
Yeah.
May have backfired a little bit, but they understand the value of hard work. And it was tough for a while. And I know physically it was very hard on my husband because his job is not easy, where my job is difficult, but two of my jobs are remote. So my full-time job is remote. And I'm an adjunct instructor for a local university online. And then I do teach a leadership class in person once a month. But so I was lucky enough to be here and I have flexibility. So we didn't have to, childcare was never an issue for us because they're all in school. I don't think this would have been as easy when they were younger and they weren't all in school. But yeah, it's been a journey and we learned a lot in the process.
That's so great. Mm-hmm. So can you share some of those things that you've learned that you're taking with you now?
So one of the big takeaways from this was when we sat down and looked at our student loans, and I paid $60,000 for my undergrad, it really made me sick. So during all of this process of him working, me working all of these jobs, I earned 2 master's degrees. And because of information that I heard on podcasts like yours and others, I actually ended up profiting $1,800 off of those 2 master's degrees, completing them both in under 14 months. And now I'm on a journey to complete my doctorate for $0. And so far I have been successful.
Wow.
Yay.
And this is something you would have never known was available or to pursue without starting this journey, right?
Nope. I didn't know how to be an informed consumer. I mean, I worked for a bank for a really long time in lending, and everybody ask their financial questions to a bank. Well, that's not the people you should be asking, right? Like you have to research on your own and get independent thoughts and consult multiple sources. And I took that information and applied it to going back to school. And I was able to find programs that allowed me to maximize my education benefits, that offered scholarships. I found independent scholarships. I just asked questions. Like for my doctorate, they gave me the tuition, and I have great education benefits at my employer as well, but it wasn't enough to cover it. And I just made friends with the financial aid officer and said, "Hey, is there anything you guys can do?" And she emailed me back a day later and was like, "Hey, we have this grant. You qualify for it. Like, here's the money." And had I not asked, I would have been paying more. And it was an incredible feeling, like, because the worst they can say is no, right? Like, and in this case, I ended up getting a lot of money for just asking the right question. But I think that's a challenge for a lot of people because people don't know the right questions to ask. They have no idea where to start.
Well done.
Yeah.
Katelyn, this is so inspiring to hear. I mean, we don't know what we don't know, but as we kind of endeavor on this journey and we learn from others and we listen to podcasts and we watch YouTube videos to get inspired, then we can know to just ask the questions, right? Like what was the downside? And the upside is being able to get your doctorate degree at no cost. And what you were able to see with your 2 master's degrees, my goodness, you are an accomplished human being. And this is so encouraging to hear what you've been able to find with the financial component of that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what a debt-free journey does is not only it kind of brings you to net zero, but it really gives you the opportunity to find what questions to ask. That's like an added benefit that you don't really think of. Like the paying off the debt isn't the solution to all of your financial problems, but it is this amazing foundation that gives you space to get to that net zero and to start to discover those right questions. So congratulations for asking the exact right questions to get 2 masters and a doctorate That's mind blowing.
Thank you.
So in this debt payoff process, did you use any large sums of money, like an inheritance or the selling of property or lump sum savings? Did you use any large chunks of money to hack away at the debt?
No, really the only thing we had was that 5,000 initial in our savings. Everything else, like we have a boat, and it would have been really easy to sell our boat, but our boat got us through 2 summers with our family with not having to spend anything. So that kind of ended up benefiting us, right? Like, but really we didn't have anything to sell. Our cars are a decade old, and we're just kind of average normal people. So, I mean, we sold a few small pieces of furniture on, Facebook Marketplace, just stuff, but that actually came with, because in the middle of the debt payoff, we also started more of a minimalistic journey too. Just, our home, we moved in 2020 into a larger house. And around the same time as our debt payoff, we started looking around and going, gosh, we moved into a bigger house and we still have no room. And, we learned that our home is not a storage facility, it's a place to live. So we started just kind of moving stuff out that way too. Thank you.
Yes, this is amazing.
Yes, that is wisdom. Take notes. All right. So do you have any remaining debt? And if so, why are you holding on to it?
So we have just a little bit of student loan debt left, less than $10,000, and we have not paid that off only because the government is doing whatever it's doing. And, I feel personally responsible for the debt that we took out, but if we can get a little bit, that's going to help us kickstart our children's college savings. So just trying to be wise stewards of our money. And we do have it in savings just in case something goes awry so that we could pay it off and just be done with it. But that's what we have left.
Excellent. Yeah, I can understand that. So can we talk a little bit about income, some of the nitty gritty? What were you making at the beginning of the debt payoff? And then as you kind of collected these jobs along the way, between you and your husband, how much money did you end up, or where are you at now? How much did you accumulate over the course of the payoff?
So we had a combined income of $115,000, just our base salaries when we started. We moved up to about $140 base salary. And then with everything else, overtime, extra jobs, we're probably at about $175 for this last year. So
nice. And have you gone down any with the extra income, taking your foot off the gas at all?
Just a little bit on my husband's overtime, especially because he was working so much, but he's still he worked overtime last night, picked up some hours here and there because we still have some large financial goals that we're trying to hit. We are saving for upgrading our vehicles, and then we are obviously saving for an emergency fund as well, but we're back to investing in our 401ks. We have started small college funds for our kids. So, and we took a huge vacation to celebrate in September, and we loved it so much. We will be taking the same vacation next September. So we're saving for that as well. Matter of fact, we were in Orlando for the hurricane at the end of September. We celebrated at Universal Studios for 6 days. 2 of those days we were at our hotel room, hoping and praying that everything was going to be okay, which it was.
Sorry on behalf of this.
It's okay. You know what? I live in a hurricane prone area too, so I knew exactly what I was doing when I booked that vacation.
Oh, that's so amazing to kind of know where you want to be next, what the goals are with your income. How does this feel from where you were at the beginning of debt payoff to where you are now?
It's just relief, and there's no pressure, and it just feels like there's just a lighter air in our household. Like I don't want to say there's no worry, because there's always some worry, but there's, we're not stressed like we used to be or panicked. We can go and do we're loose budgeters. We're not strict budgeters. We have an idea, but we budget I budget in fun so my kids know what to expect and we're not missing out on anything with them. It feels really good. And now I'm on a journey to help other people. Part of my full-time role, I'm kind of like a career coach in a sense. So trying to help people make better educational choices and better career choices so that they can stay debt-free and get qualified for the roles that they dream of.
Oh, that's so great. I too am a loose budgeter. I love the flexibility. So I get it. So what would you say to somebody or to yourself who was where you were at 2 years ago, and wants to have this feeling that you found, who wants to accomplish this goal that you've accomplished? What words of wisdom would you give them?
Oh my gosh, so much. But I'll go with when you first start, it might seem overwhelming and like there is no end in sight, but there is. You just have to keep moving forward. I forget who says it, but the only way out is through. So just making those small goals and not, when I looked at our debt and it was over $100,000, that was so overwhelming. But when I was able to break it down into just smaller wins, like how much can I put towards our debt this week? Or, what can we pay off this next month? It was a lot easier. And I talk to people all the time when I, put out on social media that we achieve this goals. People are constantly messaging me going, how do you do it? How do you do it? And I'm like, I tell them exactly how we did it. And they're like, well, we could never do that. Well, I was in that place too one time where I thought we could never do it until we actually just tried. Like you just have to try.
Yes, it's so true. It can seem so daunting if we just are only focusing on the final goal or final destination, but breaking it down into these small, manageable, tangible, approachable steps, that's where the progress is going to happen. And we can find ourselves on the other side, similar to yourself, Katelyn, where we say, I did it. I thought I couldn't do it, but I did it because I just took it one step at a time.
Yeah, you're so right. There's so many people that are like, I could never do that. I could never do that. And maybe your journey doesn't look like Katelyn's or like ours, but if you're focusing on these getting 1% better, sort of tiny changes, then those snowball. And that is really the secret to success. It's not sexy, but that's it.
Thank you.
All right, Katelyn, we have come to the time in the episode where it is time for you to celebrate your big accomplishment. This is $100,000 of debt in 18 months, making $115,000 up to $135,000, working feverishly, tirelessly, tiresomely. And so now we want you to be able to celebrate in whatever way you want to celebrate. So how is that going to be?
I don't really know. I think it's celebrating enough just to share the story and encourage other people along the way.
You can maybe give us a little chair spin.
Just a little twirl. Hold on, let me make sure I don't.
Yeah. I don't know if we've got enough.
We don't have enough room to spin with you.
We'll swivel with you.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing your journey, Katelyn. It is such a pleasure and motivation and encouragement, as usual, to hear stories like this. You and your husband, Travis, you really crushed it.
Yeah.
And to have the kids along for that journey too, letting them see it and engaging them in that process. Just so many things about what you've described. And I think you use the word average, normal, typical.
Yeah.
There are so many relatable things, but also uniquenesses about your story. So thank you. And those of you watching and listening, we hope that this is inspiring to you as well. Keep watching these debt payoff stories. There's so many different types of debt freedom stories. And so you can find yourself in some of the people who are sharing. you can feel inspired. You can find new ideas too, things to be focusing on. And if you have paid off debt, if you're listening, you're like, I'm already there. I already implemented the thing. I just like watching these.
Or you're about to be there.
Yes. Oh, yes. Then head to the description. There is a link there where you can submit to be able to be interviewed by us and have your own debt story featured on this YouTube channel.
Yes. And don't forget to subscribe to the Frugal Friends YouTube channel and turn on notifications so that you can be notified whenever we release a new debt-free story. And then head over to wherever you listen to podcasts and subscribe to Frugal Friends Podcast for more practical strategies on what to do when you're reaching certain financial goals, including paying off debt, but also saving and investing for retirement, raising your income, all with the lens of stewarding your resources well. Thank you so much for watching.
See you on the next one. It's the Debt-Free Chair Swivel.